What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Juice and Toya podcast, brought to you by One Body Los Angeles. I am your co-host, Juice.
And I am Toya. Welcome back to episode 5.
Man, we're getting after it. We're already 5 episodes in. We're excited about it. First off, thanks to everybody for all the feedback. We've gotten a lot of comments on our Juice and Toya YouTube channel and as well as everywhere else where we post podcasts. So we appreciate the ratings. We appreciate all the comments and the feedback,
suggestions.
And it really helps us kind of accumulate some of these topics for you guys. So real quick, before we get into the episode, let's do a little bit of housekeeping.
Yes. First things first, our wedding video is on the way. We are almost finished with it. I know it's been over a year. We had quite a few technical difficulties that we won't get into. We've put that in the past. So the wedding video is almost here. Trust me, we are just as excited as you all. We keep seeing when are you dropping the video? Are you ever going to drop it? And we want it out just as much as you all do.
Trust.
We're doing it ourselves. So it's taken some time. But
honestly, we're perfectionists, and we want this to be something for us personally to remember for a lifetime. So we're just taking our time with it despite the technical difficulties. So be patient with us. We promise it's going to be great.
Yep. So look out for that.
Yeah.
Next up, new merch dropping on One Body LA.
I got some on right now.
Juice has on the sage green men's t-shirt.
Yeah.
If you went to any of our summer sweat workouts, you might have already purchased some of the new merch. So post those, share it with everyone, and show them the new merch that is coming. Yep. We're really excited for it. Some new colors, some new styles. Our old merch is currently on the site, onebodyla.com, if you want to go check that out. But look out for that new merch dropping soon.
On the way. We'll definitely announce when that's all ready to go. So, and then last but not least, if you've been following our YouTube for a while, we haven't posted for a couple of weeks, but for good reason. And usually when we're not posting something, that means we're putting a lot of
working on something,
work and time and energy into something else. So we're working on something great and exciting for the fall. So be on the lookout. Stay on social media for all the updates and news, and we'll kind of slowly leak that out as we get more stuff done with it. So
absolutely.
That's pretty much the housekeeping for today, and we're going to get right into the episode. So today's podcast is a little introduction into food, because there's a lot of things we can go into in regards to, food, calories, macros, diets, all that stuff. So think of this as a defining episode for food, like what it means to you, what it means to the body. And we're just going to talk about that today.
Talk about food. So what is food?
What is food? Define, or let's look at it as redefining what food is.
Yeah.
Because I think, in this day and age, a lot of people just kind of eat, right? We just
There's
eat.
so much access to so many food.
Especially here in America. There's so many different restaurants. Like you can get on Uber Eats, or you can just even drive down the street, and there's so many different food influences wherever you go. And I think the more, I feel like food is more available than it's ever been, in a sense of like, there's so many different types of food, restaurants. You got so many companies making alternative foods, for example. So for example, Toya can't eat rice. She can't eat certain like rice pastas, and they have like chickpea rice. They have
chickpea rice grains, chickpea rice pasta, chickpea pasta in general. There's so many different alternatives now to two things that you can't eat. Meat. Yeah. There's a whole beyond topic on fake meats, but it's just so much more. Things are so much more accessible.
Correct.
So we want to talk today about why food is non-negotiable when it comes to reaching your goals, but also, like you said, kind of redefining what food is. So
how would you define, especially given how people view food today, how would you define what food is?
So food is, I would say, information to your body. You can look at that as so many different ways. Like it fuels you, it hydrates you. There's so many things that food does. But one thing, no matter what you're eating, when you eat something, your body breaks that down and it sends information to your body. So it could be broccoli, it could be ice cream, it could be whatever, pizza. Right? So anything you eat, your body is going to break that down and send signals to your cells, signals to your body. Now, depending on what that food is going to determine what your body does with that information.
Yeah.
So, Juice brought up a great analogy, and think of it as like when you go put gas in your car, right? Majority of the time, you're putting in the good quality gas.
Yeah.
To preserve your engine.
Yes.
Right. So if you're putting in good quality food, that's going to help preserve your body. So that's a great way, I think, to look at it in terms of when you're eating things. If it's better quality, it's going to be better for you.
Yeah.
And the lower the quality, the lower.
Yeah.
Lower, benefits,
Yeah.
the lower benefits. But I thought the gas analogy was great because that's almost exactly kind of what it is.
Yes. And I think, that's something I think people need to look at in a sense of like, especially if you're working toward a specific goal. Like if your goal is to build muscle or to lose body fat, you have to look at it as, what you put into your body is going to affect the outcome of what you're trying to achieve more than you think. A lot of people think, oh, whatever, I'll just have these. If I just eat a couple cookies a day, it's not going to matter. I think people are very dismissive of what certain foods can do to your body in a sense of change, in a sense of performance, in a sense of recovery.
Hormone disruption.
Exactly. Like food, everything that you put into your body, like she said, it's information. And regardless of what you're doing on the outside, on the inside, your body has to process that information one way or another.
Yeah.
So just kind of, as a whole, just kind of look at food that way. Like what I put into my body has to break down. My body has to use this information in a way that's going to either help me or hurt me in a sense. You know what I mean? So we just want to kind of define food in a way that you can not necessarily...
Not just the calories, like, oh, this is bad because X amount of calories. Like, no, like the information that breaks down into.
Exactly. So think of it like a code, right? Your body, once if you eat a salad or eat some, a veggie medley, right? Your body breaks that down into information, which is comprised of nutrients. It's comprised of a lot of different things. So just think about that as you go throughout your food journey as well.
And all of this to say too, not to ignore the fact that good quality food is not accessible for a lot of people for multiple different reasons. It may not be available in your area. If you live in a small town where, you only have access to one grocery store and that grocery store doesn't carry a lot of organic products or grass-fed or whatever, economic status, financial status, all of those things matter with the quality and the type of food that you're eating as well. If you're feeding a large family on a low income, it is going to be extremely hard to buy all grass-fed, all organic, because that adds up. Just at the grocery store, 2 days ago, organic strawberries were $7.99, non-organic were $2.99.
Ridiculous.
That's a big difference in cost.
Yeah.
It's a lot for us, and it's two people. If you have a family, that makes a difference. So sometimes the food that you're eating you're getting the best quality that you can, right? And so sometimes that means you can't get the fresh green beans. You're getting frozen or canned, or, you're getting vegetables that may be in season and it's a little bit cheaper. And there's so many different ways to go around it. But that it does make it a lot harder, depending on some of those things, to eat better quality. So a lot of times that good quality is the best that you can get, And
it's super sad that, fresh produce is more expensive than buying like a whole bunch of product. But that's what they put it in place for. Like all these companies, they put out all these different processed foods or foods that are obviously cheap to make and they target lower income communities, and they know that they can't afford better quality food, organic food, fresh food. So they that's why you have all of these super cheap cereals and super sugary and
not just low income, but also just in general children, right? If you see a cereal box that has a cartoon character on it, or you have cereal that's just bland, but it might be a healthier one, right? they're going to, of course, choose the cartoon character, So the labeling, the marketing, like all of that is very enticing and very makes you feel like this one's better because it looks more colorful or whatever the case is, So I think a lot of times we can be also confused, or there's a lot of misconceptions with the marketing in terms of what we feel like we should eat. And also those things are addicting. Like, I like literally the things that they put in it, the sugar and the processing really makes it addicting to where you feel like you're not hungry. So then you end up eating more, or you just need more of it. Like it's actually addicting. So,
and I've heard a saying where they say, they make the front of the box flashy so you avoid the back of the box, which contains all of the ingredients, right? All the information that goes into the food that you're eating. So more than anything, obviously we've defined food and what it means to the body, but also, do your part in really trying to understand what you're putting into your body. Like really pay attention to the labels. Like it's right there in front of you, right? You just have to really pay attention. Like if there's something that you eat a lot and you know it could potentially be something that's not good for you, check out the labels, see what's in it. And a lot of cases, there's a lot of things in these labels that you don't know what it is, you can't pronounce. And that's usually, I tell people, that's a red flag. Like if you don't know what a certain ingredient is or what it does, why it's in the food, then it's probably something that you should research and look up. Or in most cases, it's something that's not necessarily good for you, or it's like she said, it's an ingredient that makes it more addicting, or it's an ingredient like,
and not always like, there's a lot of times you'll see if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. That's not true. It's, there's a lot of words that I can't pronounce that are probably still
normal
oligosaccharides. Like, all,
and a lot of times it's the scientific word for a certain vitamin or nutrient, something like that.
Exactly. So just because you can't pronounce it doesn't mean you shouldn't be eating it. But like you said, research some of the things, there might be things, it might be a list full of ingredients that you can't pronounce, but it could be great for you, but it could be a list full of ingredients that you know exactly what it is. If someone put formaldehyde in your food, you know what I'm saying? So like there are things that you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't eat that, but just like he said, do your own research with anything, like it's just, for example, we get asked all the time, like what vitamins do you take? What supplements do you take? And it shouldn't matter what I take because what I take should have no effect on what you take because my body is different from your body.
Correct.
All the time people are like, why can you eat a rice cake but you can't eat rice grains? When you find out the answer, let me know, because I don't know.
We're still trying to figure that
there
out.
are things that I might eat that don't break down in my body well for whatever reason. And that exact thing might be great for you. So it always comes down to make that decision for yourself. And like we said earlier, the better quality food may not always be accessible. Make the best decisions that you can based on your own judgment.
Correct. And like she said, food is different for everybody. It's like a training program. We mentioned this in the training, how to build your own training program episode. Like food, how we would write a program for one person is the same thing with nutrition. Like we wouldn't write the same nutrition program or a similar nutrition program for someone who, these are two completely different people, and they're going to require different nutrients. They're going to require, different micro and macronutrients for their bodies, for their goals. So, food is, and that's one thing we struggle with as far as our YouTube channel and putting more nutrition and food advice, is because, it's so, I think the internet is so oversaturated with a lot of different information and conflicting, overwhelming information. And, when it comes to presenting food, we're trying to find a way to do it in a way to where it's not like, we're telling you how to eat or we're telling you the one way, right? We're trying to get more people to think of it from an intuitive standpoint, right? Really understanding, like, I can't sit here and tell you what's the best food that you can eat that's going to help you reach your goal. I don't know you, right? And you can be from a completely different state, completely different country where the foods are just completely different in general, right?
And genetics. And genetics make a difference. Yeah.
Exactly. Like there are foods that Toya can eat every single day and I cannot touch, you know what I mean? And vice versa. So we're trying to find ways in which we can present information to where people can understand that, it's just like a training program, just like you're trying to figure out what workouts work for your body. You have to do the same thing with food. And there's no That's the problem with, and we can go on and on about it, but that's the problem with diets, right? People follow these diets because they kind of, it's kind of generalized, right? They try to generalize it in a way to where people can think like, oh yeah, like this helps, like for example, keto, right? Yeah. Keto was used for more of a medical standpoint, and then people took out of it like, oh, it helps lose weight, and then it got generalized, and then you slap
as a weight loss,
as a weight loss thing, and then people slap it on labels, slap it on commercials. Now everybody's
keto bread, keto everything.
You know what I mean? So they, companies, they understand that. They know how people look at food, and they try to generalize things to make people think like this is going to work for the population of people who want to lose weight, which is completely not true. So food is very, it's different for everybody. Keep that in mind. And you have to create a regimen, create a routine, do your research, become more knowledgeable about food. And that's going to help you develop a routine that's going to help your body specifically, especially as it pertains to any goals that you have for yourself. So keep that in mind. Food is not built, it's not built equal, right? It's different.
And that kind of brings us to how it affects your body. Just kind of like you just said, there are things that I can eat that you couldn't have. Like you're very lactose, and so whereas I could have a Greek yogurt and feel for the most part okay, he could have the same Greek yogurt and be hurting the next day, or ice cream or whatever it is, So if I wrote him a meal plan that had a ton of dairy in it, it's not going to work for him, So food affects your body in so many different ways. So, and not just food, drinks as well, like alcohol, right? Think about if you had 10 drinks in one night, right? You're probably going to wake up the next day and not feel so great. And it is
probably
because
still
of
be drunk.
And it's because of the effect that alcohol has on your body once your body starts to break it down. And so the same thing with food. If I eat a ton of fried foods, a ton of really high fatty foods, I feel sluggish. I don't feel good. And if I eat, chicken breast, vegetables, some
clean
chickpeas, whatever, clean fuel, I feel a lot better. And it is the way that once that food is broken down, once that food is broken down, how it affects my body. And again, this could go for clean foods too. A lot of people tolerate Greek yogurt or cottage cheese.
She hates cottage. For the record, Toya,
I'm about to throw
she
up.
hates
I'm gonna throw
the word cottage cheese makes her nauseous. No offense to anybody who loves cottage cheese. So many people
eat it and they love it, and it's great protein, but it's sickening to me, right? So for me, it's not going to be the same as if you had cottage cheese, but that doesn't mean that cottage cheese is bad. So we want you to pay attention to how the food affects your everyday life, how it affects your energy. Are you sluggish? Are you getting headaches? Are you breaking out? Like, how is this food affecting you? And that's what we want you to pay attention to with everything that you eat.
And I think personally, I think that is the biggest benefit, I think, from following a diet gets you, because it kind of not limits you, just not the word I want to use, but it kind of creates a pool of foods that you're eating, and you can kind of understand like, all right, what foods are doing what. Whereas if you're eating so many different things, it's going to be a lot harder to tell like, all right, this food makes me feel this way, this food makes me feel energetic, you know what I mean? You can kind of pick it apart. So I think that's, in a way, that's a benefit of following a diet or following a meal plan in a sense. But also,
then it gets restricted.
Then it gets restricted and not realistic and not sustainable, right? So one thing we preach all the time is eating, intuitive eating, right? Eating intuitively, in a sense of like, what's generally good for your body, right? Your body needs protein, your body needs nutrients, you need water, right? Implementing those foods in a way that you and I tell people all the time too, just because you're eating healthy food doesn't mean it has to taste bad. Right? I think that's the thing that, if you compare it to things that if you eat burgers all the time, or if you eat pizza, it might not taste as good. You know what I mean? Like, healthier foods might not taste good as all this fatty junk that you're eating, but healthy foods can taste good. We do it every single day. This is why we can stay on top of our goals because we can find ways to implement our nutrients and get everything we need to get in and also make it taste good and enjoyable. Like we look forward to our food every night and it's not terrible food.
We had Parmesan garlic shrimp pasta the other night.
And it was not
delicious.
It was great. And it was not unhealthy by any means. So that's one thing I want to just get out of everybody's system. Like just because it's healthier, just because it's green and has colors and all these different things that are different from a hamburger or double cheeseburger and pizza doesn't mean it can't taste good. And also another point I want to make is food has it makes a lasting impact on your body. So like, for example, like she said, alcohol, right? I forget the actual research behind it, but I think they say like alcohol can stay in your system like for more than 72 hours. So if you drink, let's say you drink 2 or 3 drinks one night, it might take up to 3 days before that alcohol starts to completely clear from your system. It's the same thing.
That's interesting. I never knew that. Makes a lot of sense.
It's not just one and done, right? It's not just you drink and then you go to the restroom and now it's out of your system.
Right. It takes time for your liver to metabolize alcohol.
Exactly. It's the same thing with food, right? You can eat a food. You can eat a particular food. Let's say I'm just using junk food, for example, pizza, right? Just because you eat that pizza yesterday and you use the restroom, it's not out of your body. Your body is still using some of those nutrients. It's still using that information that you gave it for days, ongoing days, right? It's not just that one day that's affected. So you have to keep that in mind. Whatever you put into your body is continuously processing from day to day, right? It's a continuous process. So
yeah, this is why too, like having, foods that you may seem unhealthy, like having those things in moderation is fine, because it's not like you said, it takes some time for your body to get out. And then once it's out, that's it, but if it was every single day that you're eating those things, and if it takes days for it to metabolize out, you're always going to feel not good, you know? So if you're eating a food that makes you feel not so great, and you're continuously eating it, you're continuously feeling not so great. And this is where, when I found out I had the rice intolerance, every day I felt not good. I was eating so much rice because it's great. It's a good grain free, but
good, man.
I was eating it continuously. The protein powder I was using at the time was a brown rice protein. So it was constantly in my system and I could not figure it out. And it took months of elimination diet, eliminating things that rice is clean. So I wasn't eliminating that. So again, like you said, just because it's a clean food doesn't mean that your body is going to agree with it. So just saying all that to say, food influences your body in so many ways. And just paying attention to how you feel when you eat or drink certain things that, drinks have nutrients in them too. So just paying attention to what you're drinking, what you're eating, what you're putting into your body, and how that is broken down.
And one big thing, me and Toya always ask this, and it's usually when we travel or when we're kind of away from our normal routine of eating and having groceries, and we see certain restaurants where in certain places and we're like, how do people eat like this every day? You know what I mean? Like it's like a foreign thought to us because we can't understand. Because for us, if we ate like that every day, we would
not feel good.
We would feel terrible. But then you have to think about it. People who eat like that every day have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they.
And when we say eat like that, we're talking like heavy barbecue, heavy
fatty, fried sugar,
not just having a slice of pizza or something. I'm talking like
every day
brisket sandwiches,
like stuff that that's not good for your body. There are people who eat this every single day, and it's something that we ask, but again, they don't have anything to compare it to, right? They don't. That's all they know. So they probably don't even feel. It's all relative. They don't even feel the effects of what it's doing to their body because they're so used to it physically and mentally. You know what I mean? Yeah. But for us, once we go, I think the biggest stretch that we had to where we weren't eating necessarily healthy, I think was after we got engaged. That entire month was just like, we went out. It was just celebration. We had we were celebrating my mom's birthday. And our engagement. We went out to eat, and then Christmas time rolled around, which you have your Christmas food, which and when you come home to Texas and in the South, that's pretty much Thanksgiving all over again. Yep. So that was the biggest stretch to where we were eating like, I would
I
say
think
it,
it was like 10 days straight. We ate out at a restaurant every single day because we had probably 5 or 6 people that were like, let us take you out to celebrate your engagement. And it had to be back to back because we were leaving for the holidays. And then we had our birthdays. And so
and then we went to Missouri and where we didn't have our normal groceries and everything. And then we went to Houston where we had barbecue, seafood. So it was probably like almost a solid 30-day stretch of
cake. Lots of birthday cake.
Yep. Oh man. And I can't tell you how terrible I felt by the end of the year, just because it was just that accumulation of things
of every day.
You know what I mean? So that's why I tell people all the time, you know, if you're used to eating, you know, and I'm using finger quotes here, bad foods all the time, you got to give yourself the chance of understanding what it feels like to put quality fuel and quality food inside of your body, because we're to a point now, once we go throughout a stretch of eating like that, we feel it. And it's to the point where we don't want to feel like that anymore. It's almost essentially like we're making our bodies sick, right? That's at least that's the feeling that I get sometimes. And that's what discourages us from wanting to eat like that, you know, anymore. So, you know, give yourself a chance to, you know, just put better food in your in your body over time, and give yourself some time too as well. Don't just do it for 2 weeks and say, oh, I didn't really feel a difference, I'm going back to eat my normal stuff.
Some of that old stuff
it's gonna look, if you've been eating like this for a while, it's gonna take some time for your body to get acclimated to these new foods and this quality food that you're putting inside of your body. I'd say give yourself a couple of months of just clean eating. I guarantee you're gonna feel a lot more energetic. You're going to feel like you're able to perform better during your workouts. You're recovering better. You're sleeping better, right? Give yourself the opportunity of feeling, you know, the changes that comes with eating quality food. And honestly, once you get to that particular point and you know, go about, let's say it's your birthday week, and I say week because most people, it isn't just one day. They try to, right? Especially for us, it's birthday month. You'll feel, you know, over the course of a week of not following your normal routine, you'll feel the difference after you go some time of eating clean food. So give yourself the chance, give yourself the opportunity to know what it feels like to eat clean. And I guarantee you're going to feel a difference and you're not going to want to go back, right? And again, it's not realistic to say that you'll never eat bad foods ever again. That's not realistic. But what we're trying to say,
and not even, I think another thing too, not looking at it as bad or good. Because I think that's kind of what we want to accomplish with this this podcast, this episode, is like how you look at food as a whole versus like, this is bad, this is good. And more so looking at it as, how do I feel when I eat this? And how do I feel when I eat that? When this food breaks down, what is it going to tell my body? What information is it going to send?
But I also don't want people thinking also too, it's like, oh, well, I ate a pizza and I feel great. You know what I mean? Like,
I also said when this food breaks down, what information is that sending to our body? So with that, like, what nutrients are in this food that it's going to be beneficial for your body? And that kind of actually segues into our next topic, especially with us being personal trainers, having a workout YouTube channel, like all of that. This is exactly the point that I think a lot of our clients try to make, is like, well, I feel okay when I eat pizza, you know, but what is that doing for your goals and for your body? How, when that food breaks down, how is it helping you reach your goals, right? So let's just say right now, my goal is to maintain my physique, right? I would just need to focus on maintaining my protein, maintaining my nutrients, my hydration. If I have some pizza here and there, I love croissants, I love chocolate, I love all of these things. Having them every once in a while is not going to hurt my goals. If my goal was to lose body fat, having those things even once or twice a week might affect it. Now, again, this is person to person, you know, it may not, and it may. It just depends on what you're eating overall, and it depends on your activity levels. The answer is always, it depends. But one thing I think that is a common theme is that they try to avoid changing the food. They think that coming in and just doing the workouts is enough. It's not. And it's not, like, period, right? And specifically, I had a client who was trying to lose like 10 pounds after having a baby, hormones are changed, your body has changed, your sleep levels have changed, your whole life has changed, right? And specifically, she drank a few glasses of wine every day. She was stressed. She had a high stress job. And I remember her saying, I shouldn't have to give up wine to lose weight. You shouldn't, but that wine is not. So what she was doing was not eating a lot and just drinking wine, saying, well, I just won't eat, I'll drink the wine. You're missing protein, you're missing nutrients, you're putting toxin into your body. I don't care how you spin it. Alcohol is not good for your body. It's great. We might love it. We might love having cocktails, margaritas, wine, whatever, but that alcohol is not benefiting my body, right? And so I remember trying to explain to her, like, we don't get to choose how that breaks down into our body. We don't get to tell that wine, I'm not going to eat protein today, so I need you to help recover my muscles. That's not how it works. It's not negotiable.
And you can't tell your body what's don't try to tell your body what's right and what's wrong. Your body should tell you
it knows
what's right and what's wrong. Like, you can't say like, oh, like, you know, I shouldn't have to give up hamburgers. Like, it's not that bad. Like, I should be able to lose weight and still eat my hamburgers every other day. Like, you can't create these random rules for food, because once you get into that, it's just going to be it's just going to be a spiral downwards, right? You have to really look at it like, you know, there's no negotiables. You can't negotiate food. Like, food is something that every single person on earth needs in order to survive. Food and water is something that every single person...
Nutrients and water.
Let's just call it nutrients and water is something that every person on earth needs to survive and sustain, right? You can't negotiate that, right? And this is one thing. A lot of people, like you said, a lot of people don't have trouble working out or moving their bodies, right? You can, and for some people it is, you know, sort of a sacrifice, right? That they like, I got to move today, but they understand that it's important to move your body and whatever. They don't have, in most cases, they don't have any problem doing that. Where the issues comes to play is with food. Like, people don't want to give up certain things, that they don't want to stay away from certain foods that they know, you know, isn't necessarily going to benefit them, right? That's usually where people don't want to negotiate. You know what I mean? That's like, but that is usually the one thing that's holding people back from reaching their goals, right? And that's where a lot of people get frustrated. They're like, look, I'm working out 6 days a week, 7. It doesn't matter how many days you're working out, how much work you're putting in. If your food isn't quality, if you're not getting the proper nutrients that you need, it doesn't matter, right? You can't, you can't
out-train a poor diet.
Yeah, you can't out-train a poor diet, right? You have to make sure that whatever's going into your body is sending the right information to create the goals that you want to achieve, right?
Yeah. And again, reiterating, this is all person to person. It is possible to have those things and still lose body fat or build muscle, but it's all quantitative and all in moderation and all dependent upon your goals.
Correct.
And exactly what that goal is and how much you're having these things, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing that is not, you don't get to negotiate with the food or the wine or your body on how that is going to be used. When you eat or drink that particular thing, how it is broken up and the information it sends to your body, you don't get to decide that. So unfortunately, wine will not help your body recover after a strength training workout. It will not provide protein to your body. So you can't skip dinner. You can't skip eating your protein and having the glass of wine and expect yourself to have the same results. So that's the point we kind of want to make with that, is like, you don't get to avoid that. You don't get to negotiate. And sometimes it takes a little bit of sacrifice. And
it's one more thing I'll add to this too. A lot of questions, you know, if we get a lot of questions on, you know, what to eat, or like, a lot of questions we get, can I eat this? Right. And I think a lot of people ask us that in a way because they want validation to still feel like they can eat the things that they love, right? So some people are like, is it okay if I eat, like, I love these cookies, is it fine to eat these cookies? And that's the answer we'll give you. Yes, it's
you can have
the cookies,
absolutely,
but don't think that's something, you know, that's going to help you reach your goal. It's also not going to help you. So like, yes, you can have it every once in a while, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, you can still have it and you're still going to reach whatever goal it is that you're trying to achieve, right? So, I need people to stop looking for validations to eat the things that they want to eat and really understand it from a standpoint that,
because just eat it, and if it's helping you, continue eating it. If you're not reaching your goals,
that's usually it, right? It's not, most cases it's not your workouts, it's not your activity, it's the bottom line, it's the information, it's the food and the nutrients that you're, or lack of nutrients that you're putting inside of your body. So if you get into a point where, if you're one of those people, you're moving fine, right? You're doing your workouts, you're following the program, you're consistent, you're adding variation to your workouts to the point where, it's not your workouts, right? And you can't necessarily figure out why you're not getting over the hump, or why you're not leaning out, or why you've kind of hit a standstill as far as building muscle. Look at your nutrition. And 9 times out of 10, you can crack the code right there with your nutrition. And a lot of times that is people's downfall, because they don't want to look at the nutrition. They don't. It's not, that's something that they don't even want to look at, right? They just want the workouts,
I'm working out, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what I eat, right? So that kind of goes into, moves us to our next segment is, we want to kind of discuss the toxic, for lack of better words, perspectives about how people view food, right? Because I think a lot of times, again, the reason we struggle with putting information about food online is because everybody, I'm not gonna say everybody, but a lot of people have these certain perspectives that they get from other creators, or something that they heard online or in a commercial, or
stop eating this,
stop eating that, stop eating this. And like, everybody has their own perspective on food, to the point where if we give our honest and true and factual and scientific perspective about food, a lot of people are dismissive about it, or has something to say. Is like, oh, that's not true. This, that, and the third, right? So one thing, an example of that toxic perspective is, you hear it all the time, especially around the holidays. It was like, oh, it's Thanksgiving and I'm eating this food. I'm going to eat this huge plate of food, and, tomorrow I'm going to work out. I'm going to work out for 2 hours and burn it off.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Nope. And also, I want to say too, you should never eat something to burn it off, because that already, you're looking at it. Exactly. You're already looking at it as, this thing is bad. I'm not supposed to have it, so I need to burn it off, right? And both of us, with our clients, we have never said, don't eat this, because I personally don't believe in saying like, don't eat something, because that's just going to make you want it more.
That's just going to kill you.
Exactly. And exactly. Don't eat formaldehyde. But I have always looked at it as, right from wrong. That having, chocolate chip cookies for dinner is probably not going to be as beneficial to losing body fat as having, a lean protein source, some vegetables, a good complex carb. I don't have to tell you that. You know that. And so I've always, and same with juice, I've just looked at things as like, eat your nutrients, eat the things that are supporting your goals, and you probably aren't going to want as much of those other things. Of course, there'll be times you crave those little things, and then you have them in moderation, and you don't feel bad about it. But we never want you to feel guilty over eating things. If you do, that's already a red flag of a bad relationship with food. And so, like you said, if you're saying you're burning things off, that's like start to number one. You'll see people joke about it in terms of like, I'm putting the turkey to work during Thanksgiving, or something, like putting all the sweet potato pie to work and stuff like that. But we don't want you to feel like you need to burn things off, because it's not going to happen anyways. That's not how food works.
And it also goes into, again, the biggest subject line of food that we get asked all the times is calories, 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 right? One thing we want people to understand, we want you to understand that calories are not all built equal, right?
And that's why this whole podcast we've been saying, what is it made of? There's more than just calories in food. There are nutrients, there's information, it's medicine in some ways. Like, there's so much more than just the calories.
I can eat 2 slices of pizza, which can be approximately, I don't know, it depends on the pizza. Let's say 2 slices of pizza is 500 calories, and I have this veggie and rice and chicken bowl right here, which is also 500 calories. I think the bad relationship that people have with calories or food in general is that, like, what's 500 calories? Like, I burn 500 calories during my workout. this is 500 calories. It's gone, right? I just
I burned it off.
I burned it off. It's eliminated, right? But let's look at the makeup of these 500 calories, right? You got one that's made of probably 80% fat, or I'd say probably 60% fat, 25% protein, and it's carb, whatever, however you want to break it down. And you got this other nutritious meal full of nutrients, and you have vitamins, minerals, and a lot of different things that your body can use, not just today, not just tomorrow, but for the days ahead, right? These are not built equal, and you're going to feel a lot different whether you know it or not after you eat these particular foods. And it's going to carry you along a lot differently, right? It's going to affect your energy. It's going to affect how you recover. It's going to affect your brain function, right? There's so many different things, right? Every part of your body utilizes everything that you put inside of your body, right? So you have to look at it like, yes, these are two 500 calorie meals, but which one is going to actually benefit your body?
Which one is more nutrient dense?
Exactly, right? So, and I think a lot of people mix that with calorie loss in the sense of working out, and that's where the bad relationship is developed, right? They think, all right, I got this 750 calorie double cheeseburger. I'm going to go on the Stairmaster and burn 750 calories. And that's just going to diminish it from my body, right? That's not
False.
going to,
that cheeseburger's already started breaking down, and that information is like pew, pew, pew.
It's everywhere.
Brain, cells,
right?
everything.
Right. And this kind of also goes back to go back to listen to our last podcast about what if your body could talk to you, right? I guarantee you, if your body could speak to you in that moment of making a decision on what to eat, right? Your body would probably want the 500 calorie meal with all the nutrients in it, right? Because your body has one concern: keeping you alive, right? And making sure you're thriving and as healthy as possible, right? So it most likely, you got to think of it like that. Your body wouldn't choose the pizza as bad as your brain wants it, right? Your body wouldn't choose that particular meal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And when we look at, I was very guilty of this myself, specifically high school and like early college. I, same thing, would look at food and be like, oh, this has less calories, I'm going to choose this. When the thing with a few more calories probably would have been more nutrient dense and better for my body. But because all I knew was calories,
Yep.
I looked at, I'm supposed to have 1,700 calories a day. And if I eat less than 1,700, I'm going to lose body fat.
Yeah.
As long as I stay under 1,700, I'm going to lose body fat. And that's not the case. Like because that 1,700 could be made up of foods that are bloating you. And when you're bloated and you retain water, what happens? Your weight goes up. So you're trying to lose weight, but you're doing things that aren't benefiting your body, right? That's going to help you in the long term. And so that 1,700 calories or 1,800, however many calories you're eating in a day, those macros within those calories matter too.
Yes.
The amount of protein you're getting, the amount of fat you're getting, the amount of carbs you're getting, all three of those play such a vital role in keeping you alive, making sure your hormones are regulated, making sure that your recovery is where it needs to be, making sure your organs are functioning. You can't just eat 1,700 calories and carbs.
And
as much as we want to.
And Oreos and sugar and cookies and all that stuff.
And I remember too, when I was competing, I met another girl at a competition and we were just talking about like, this is so awful, like thinking back to it, but like you cut your calories as you're competing. And I remember like we were looking at our like diets for like the last like 3 weeks of competition.
Yeah.
And I specifically remember she was like, I've eaten Oreos, I've eaten peanut butter. I had to cut peanut butter out. It's not great, but that's a whole nother topic for another podcast. But I remember her saying like, yeah, I just had to stick under these calories. And our bodies looked vastly different, right? And so it was mostly when you're bodybuilding, the muscle is important. And my muscle definition was so different from hers. And now knowing what I know is like, she did not have enough protein in her diet. You know, she stayed under her calories, but we could have done the exact same workout program and our bodies would not have looked the same because of our nutrition. Because of a lot of different things, but
genetics and
that
all
nutrition really, really matters when you break down what the calories are.
Yes.
So,
and we'll do a whole nother episode. I know, a lot of you want to learn more about macros and macronutrients and how they affect the body. But, it's not just calories in and calories out. What those calories are made up of, like she said, protein, carbs, fat, and then you got to look at everything in between.
Micros.
The micros and also the sugars, like how much that adds up and makes a difference, regardless of your macros.
Fiber.
And yes, and regardless of your macros and your calories, right? So keep in mind, again, like I said, all calories aren't built equal. You know what I mean? Don't think just because it's 500 calories doesn't mean it's not going to affect you from meal to meal. You know what I'm saying? So,
and that's also where the intuitive eating comes in, where you stop looking at the calories so much so, and you're looking at what you are eating and how it's making you feel. Of course, when you're on vacation or traveling, your food may look drastically different than when you're at home, but you still have an understanding of what you need. When we travel, we still try to prioritize our protein because we're usually still active. So we still try to prioritize protein
and nutrients and nutrients.
Because it matters with how we feel. So just keep that in mind. Kind of overall, kind of coming to a close on this podcast is food sends information to your body. How that food breaks down matters. It's more than just how many calories are in the food, but also how does it make you feel? What information is this food going to send to your cells, to your body? And how are you going to feel? Like, what is this benefiting you in some way? That could be mentally, it could be physically, it could be helping your goals. Like, when you're eating the food, it's more than just 500 calories. What is this food?
Yeah. And the name of the game too is also, I want you to think about is sustainability, right? Like food, how we eat our food, we're trying to make it in a way that's sustainable. This is why we try to preach not to limit yourself to a quote unquote diet. Like think of diets, and this is not 100% the case, but if you're following a diet, I want you to look at it as, a diet is more for somebody who has some sort of underlying condition, right? Where they can't eat certain things or they have something that they have to limit to prevent a certain marker from going up or down, right? Think of a diet as something that has to be limited in order to
regulate something,
in order to regulate something, right? If you're just trying to lose weight or build muscle, whatever your goal is, it needs to be for sustainability, right? You need to eat intuitively, knowing that like the way you're eating should be the way that you can eat for a lifetime, not just for 3 months and then you go right back to the things that you're doing, because again, that's not sustainable, right? Anybody can follow a diet for 3 months and lose 20 pounds, but then what are you going to do after that, realistically?
And it's possible if your goal solely is to lose weight, you have no conditions holding you back, no specific things. It is possible to lose weight and eat different variety of foods, different variety of proteins, of carbs, of fats. It is possible and should be done, because then you're getting in all of your nutrients. If you're eating the same exact thing every single day, there might be a very big group of nutrients that you're missing out on, So keep that in mind. Like you said, with diets, it's short term for a reason, or it's created for a reason. When my mom got a colostomy bag, that completely changed her diet because she was missing over half of her colon. So there were things that literally she could not digest, and that meant she had to eat in a different way. So there are a lot of people who have to follow a diet for specific reasons like that, who wish they could eat a variety of things.
100%.
So
don't follow a diet. Don't follow it. You don't want to get to a point where you have to follow a diet because you have to.
Yes.
If you have a doctored ordered diet, that's not good. And that's not what you want to get to, you know what I mean? To a certain extent. Like, you want to be able to eat intuitively, eat foods that you know is going to benefit your body, get all the proper nutrients that you need. And that's going to be the most sustainable way to not only just be healthy, but to reach whatever particular goal that you got in mind. You know what I mean? And also, and we can get into this in another podcast too, but also like to talk about, I know a lot of people are going to ask about like supplements. Like, how do I know, do I need protein powder, or do I need to like have all these supplements? Again, supplement is something that you're not supplementing. It's supplementing something that you're not getting in your everyday diet. We tell people, try to get all these different nutrients in your diet from your food, but we understand that that's not realistic for everybody. You know what I mean? Some people live in places like, we went to Houston, we've been in LA, and we've been in Missouri the last couple months, and we can both say that those are like we had access to 3 different essential culturally influenced type of food, right?
Yep.
Like we didn't have the same foods that we have here in LA that we had in Missouri, and same thing in Texas, right? It varies from place to place. So understand that, it's not going to be the same for everybody. And if you need to supplement, let's say, vitamin C or vitamin D, and you're not getting, you don't live in a place where you can have, fresh foods or things that are able to provide that, then you can start looking at supplementing. But don't think you need it just because your favorite influencer
you want to look like them.
is taking a certain supplement, and you feel like you need it for yourself to do the exact same thing, right? So cool. That is pretty much it. Again, we say all this to say that food is non-negotiable, right? What you're putting into your body is information that your body is going to use, whether it's good food or bad food. Understand that if you find yourself in a place where you don't feel good, or you don't feel like you're making any progress, 9 times out of 10, especially if you know for a fact you're moving consistently, look at your food, right? And understand that there's no way around it, right? Then that's why all of these, again, we've said this before, that's why you have all these diets. That's why all these commercials are trying to influence you to follow this particular diet, follow the keto, follow all these different things, just because they're trying to cut corners for you, right? They're trying to give you a way to cut corners around what you really actually need to reach your goals, which is to really get those nutrients in and to eat in a sustainable way. So keep that in mind. That's what this podcast is all about. We hope you understood that for what it is, and don't try to cut corners, man. Just eat healthy food, put good fuel in your body. Number one, for us, we eat well because we like to feel good. We understand the importance of feeling healthy and feeling good and feeling energetic from a day-to-day basis, right? We also know what it feels like to not feel very energetic, and it doesn't feel good at all, especially given what we do on a daily basis, which is train and move our bodies and perform, right? If we can't do that, I'm not mentally there, honestly, right? So we eat to feel good. We eat to obviously look good just because we want to feel confident in our bodies, and you should do the same as well too. So we got a little bit of time.
Oh wait, I was.
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say again, just kind of wrapping it up. Like at the end of the day, try not to look at foods as good or bad. Yeah. Try to look at them as information. Correct. That's it. We don't have to tell you what foods are good, what foods are bad. Mm-hmm. You know the information that a chocolate chip cookie and ice cream is going to give you over a lean protein and a vegetable. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Wrap it up.
That's it. So let's do a quick little FAQ because we got a little time, and I figured we can always share some valuable information that we get asked all the time. So cool. Let's see. I need to give you a question. Hey Toya, I'm asking in the perspective of someone off of YouTube. I have been I've lost 30 pounds over the last 6 or 7 months. And I've been doing your workouts consistently. I've been doing strength training. I've been doing, I've been going on runs. I've been biking, but I sort of hit this plateau, and I can't necessarily understand. And I pretty much eat good for the most part. Like my food is good. What do you think I need to do in order to get over this plateau? Because like I've been losing consistent weight, 4 or 5 pounds every month, but not all of a sudden it's just not happening. I don't understand how it's happening. What I've been doing has been working. What do I need to focus on?
It depends.
Depends on what?
The answer always is it depends. And this is where we would say book a consultation or actually that's it, book a consultation. Because here's the thing, when it comes to things like that, I would really need to look at your program, your regimen, your nutrition, literally everything, because I don't know what to tell you to change. You could be telling me you're eating good, but again, we just covered in this podcast, what it makes a difference. You might be saying like, oh yeah, I have like 2 glasses of wine, but I skipped dinner because so it's less calories. So there's so many things that could go into it. Majority of the time, it's going to be, you need a change of stimulus. Again, I had a client that was cycling every single day, hour to an hour and a half, going hard, and she could not understand why she was not losing weight. There was zero strength training in her, nothing but cycling. Burned a lot of calories, always heard about how many calories the workouts burned and all of this. And I was like, I don't care how many calories it burns. What are you doing for your muscles? So once we added in some strength training, feels great, looks great,
Boom.
got lean, boom. You're not even focused on the weight loss anymore, So a lot of times your body is going to require a change in stimulus. If you've been doing the exact same thing and it's working for you, which is great, but you have not changed up anything, your nutrition, you haven't changed up your regimen, you haven't added in some, even if you are strength training, change of resistance, the same thing is going to happen. You're just going to plateau. So a lot of times it's a change in stimulus. But honestly, guys, when it comes to personalized questions like that, where it's specific to you, book a consultation, because the answer is always going to be it depends, because we don't know you and everything that goes into it. And I could give you a generalized answer all day long, but it's probably not going to help you much.
Again, and this is why when we ask these, or when we get asked these questions, we're pretty honest, because at the end of the day, like most of these are comments. We can't even see the person that we're talking to, right? So we don't know your body composition. We don't know all these different elements that go into plateauing and what can lead up to you having a certain plateau with certain things. So understand that, when you're asking questions, like I wish I can give you a perfect answer for what you and your body needs, but even, you got to understand, when we train our clients, it's something that we have to figure out. It's trial and error. It's not something that I can give them a definite answer to right away. It's me seeing how they're moving, seeing the workouts that they're doing, seeing their, how they're feeling, their energy levels, right? It's me observing my clients over time, and then in a program, right? And then we're able to nail down, like, oh, okay, like you need to increase your carb intake. You're not getting, you don't have enough energy for your workouts, or, you're not building more. You're not building more muscle because your protein is too low, right? Yep. It's something that we have to really observe and analyze and take all this data to be able to understand what it is exactly that you need to overcome this plateau, or whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind,
Cool.
And I'm sorry. Oh. And I know she said book a consultation, right? And this could be with anybody. This can be with, a nutritionist, a trainer, whoever it is. Try to ask if you don't know, or if there's something online and you're confused about it, seek help, right? Ask a trainer, or ask someone who's knowledgeable, right? Or book. When we say book a consultation, because we have consultations on our website. So if you want to book a consultation with us, we can do that. I'll try to leave the link in the description of, whether it's on YouTube or on our podcast. We're very limited, but the consultations that we have done have been pretty life-changing for a lot of people, because again, it debunks all the stuff that we mentioned in this podcast today. And it kind of,
sometimes you just need to hear it from someone.
You need to hear from somebody, and it kind of redefines, most people's relationship with food, with working out, to the point where they understand it, and it really makes sense to them, right? Because again, we're here and we started this podcast because we want to dumb it down and simplify things in a way that most people can understand and implement into their lives. So if you want to book a consultation with us, our schedule is kind of limited, but again, that's something that's beneficial, whether it's with us or anybody. Just try to get a foundation. And I want you to, whether it's good or bad, again, we get a lot of people get a lot of information on Instagram and from all these different people and creators, but sometimes you just need that one person to create a foundation for you that you follow. You can't follow 100 different things and expect one result, right? You have to really have a foundation of information that you're standing by, that you understand. Once you have that foundation, then it shouldn't be any confusion, right? You know what's right, and again, we're not talking about right and wrong, but you understand what your body needs. You understand what's effective for you, and base it off of that. Don't go off of all these different things that you're hearing online, whether it's good or bad. It's just going to confuse you and be conflicting. And if you're conflicted, then, reaching your goals is going to be conflicted as well. So,
Short little Q&A. Yeah. All right. That is it for today. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us so much. We appreciate all the support in this podcast so far. Sure. And like we've mentioned before, leave a comment on what topics you'd like to hear. Like we said, today we wanted to introduce food. There is a multitude of topics we could talk about when it comes to food.
Yeah.
So leave any suggestions in the comments. Don't forget to leave us a rating.
Do it. New merch on the way.
New merch
Be
on the
lookout
way.
for that.
Look out for the wedding video, and look out for that big announcement that we have coming soon on that exciting project that we're working on.
Oh, yeah. So we appreciate you for joining us for another podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the Juice and Toya podcast YouTube channel. Give us a like, 5-star rating wherever you're listening to your podcast. We appreciate you.
And we'll see you on the next one.